Hey guys, welcome to Rich with Cars. On this week's video, I'm going to be going over the 2024 Lexus IS350 F Sport. I wanted to give you guys a quick idea of what it is to drive and see if you would actually consider this next to some of its German competitors like the BMW 340 or the Audi S4 or even the Genesis G70, which comes from the South Korean competitors. So as always guys, I want to be going over the exterior, the interior, engine, trunk, and of course driving impressions. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to comment below with any questions that you guys have. So as always, let's strap in and take a look. For the 2024 model year, Lexus came out with a few extra options for the IS300 and 350 trims. And some of these things include F Sport design and F Sport packages that now you can even spec with the IS300. Some of the things that the F Sport does have is this mesh grille, as you guys can see, and then some additional duct cooling over here for the brakes. You do have an air curtain over here that is functional, and then additional mesh grille to go along with the main grille as well. We do see the same design hues on the hood, and I love this color. It's iridium silver. The F Sport does come with these dark chrome 19-inch wheels, which is part of the F Sport package, and I think they look absolutely gorgeous. I'm typically not a huge fan of chrome, but the dark chrome on this really looks nice. And then you have the caliper that is in gray right behind that. F Sport does include the badging here on the front fender, and then you have also a black mirror cap on the top, and you also have gloss black on the side sill right here. One huge design cue of the IS500 that I love is basically this design cue right there. It really gives it a very sporty look. We can see that this particular F Sport does have a lip spoiler on the rear, and then of course the final thing is the rear diffuser that comes in gloss black. We do have single exhaust outlets on each side, so we have dual exhausts for the rear as well. So that's the key. This is the key glove that comes with the vehicle. It's really nice. It's got the F logo on the front, and then of course on the other side you got the holes to show you the lock, unlock, the rear hatch, and then of course the panic button. So you guys get to see here that on the interior we get started with a door card. The door card is all in black over here. It's got some of the new Lux material, which is a full leather, and then you got this design aspect here on the door card, which I've seen also in other IS models, so I don't think it's specific to the F Sport trim. This does have the memory seats, and then you have of course your door locks and your window controls alongside with your mirror controls. You do have some storage space here on the side for at least a 500 ml bottle, and additional storage space here as well. And then of course you do have the F Sport denomination sill in aluminum, which is really nice. And then finally the seats themselves are specific to the F Sport, which do have additional bolstering. You have some bolstering here on the side, on the bottom, and then you have additional on the back as well. So generally speaking, these seats are quite comfortable. You can use them for long drives, and they also keep you in place. So it's a very nice seat. Lexus is known in general for having very comfortable seats, because I've been in multiple Lexus vehicles and I do own one myself, and they are very comfortable. Finally, the F Sport does also give you the aluminum pedals with the rubberized inserts for additional grip. So that's with the pedals and the footrest as well. So ultimately it gives you some additional sporty goodies on the F Sport. We get to see a different steering wheel than regular IS models. This is specific to the F Sport. You do have F Sport denomination here at the bottom. It's a really nice 3-spoke steering wheel with some functions on each side, both in the cruise control and additional sort of functions as well, like volume and some modes as well. The really cool thing is the fact that the F Sport does come with the LFA inspired gauge cluster, which also is included in the LC500 and the IS500, I believe. And I want to show you guys something that's really cool, if you haven't seen, is the fact that it does physically shift sideways for additional functionality. So you can see that you can scroll through different functions and different data when you shift the gauge cluster over to the side. And then once you're done, you can shift it back to the middle. So this is something that is specific to the F Sport trim levels. The other cool thing is that when you do change the drive modes, for example, you get to see that it slightly changes. So you get the sort of like the white dials on the Sport, you have the normal over here, and then you have the Eco, which changes to sort of like a blue as well. Now for the remainder of the interior layout of the IS350 F Sport, it's not that much different from any other IS models. Of course, this does have the optional 10.3-inch display as opposed to the 8-inch. It does not have the updated infotainment from Lexus. It does have the old system in place, but at least the good thing is that it's both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatible, and at the same time, it's also touch. So not only do you get to use it with the old touchpad system, but you also have touch display as well, which is very, very useful. So now you have the redundancy and the ability to use it whichever way you want. I want to give you guys a little preview of Apple CarPlay. If you go in there, then you get to see, you get a full screen with Apple CarPlay on it as well, which is pretty cool. You have the analog clock, which is classic from Lexus, which I really like a lot. And then you have the HVAC system. Of course, it's a little bit dated, but I personally prefer that quite a bit. You have this really cool adjustability for the temperature. You can just slide and you can see how the temperature changes, or you can just tap it. So that's also very cool. And then you have some of your physical knobs for your radio and media controls. You have both heated and cooled seats, which are manual buttons. Very welcome addition to that. And then of course you have brake hold, snow mode, traction control off, and then that's your drive mode selector. As I was showing you guys before, the gauge cluster, that's where I was changing it from. You have a physical gear knob over here, which also I do like quite a bit. It's not an electrical gear selector, so that's also nice to have. And then you have a couple of cup holders over here in the middle, alongside with some storage here in the middle with USB-A plugs, not USB-C. So would have been nice to have USB-C, but it is a little bit of an antiquated interior layout. So I want to give you guys a quick idea of what the rear seating space looks like on the IS350 F Sport. It's not any different than an IS300. You do have the same Nulux material in the rear. It's not the largest space in the rear, but I think it does carry, you can carry, you know, smaller adults. I'm sitting here in the rear, I'm 6'1", and you know what? I do have about an inch and a half of space between my knee and the rear part of the seat, so it's actually not that bad. And the seating is actually quite comfortable. I love these seats. Lexus always does a phenomenal job when it comes to seats. You have a couple of air vents over here, but not much in terms of controls. And of course, you have a middle armrest over here with some cup holders as well. So generally speaking, the rear seating area is not that special on the IS, but it does do the basics quite well. So the rear trunk space of the IS350 F Sport is not any different than any other IS model. This one does have the cargo net, which is very useful. You can put smaller items in there so they don't actually roll around in your trunk. But just want to give you guys a bit of an idea of how it looks like over here. And I'll show you guys on the screen what the trunk volume is, and give you guys also an idea of what some of the competitors like the BMW, Audi, and even the Genesis G70 have in terms of rear trunk volume. So you have an idea of how this compares to its competition. So looking at the engine bay of the Lexus IS350 F Sport. So the F Sport doesn't really change anything per se in terms of the engine output or the engine itself. We have a 3.5 liter V6 pushing 311 horsepower at 6,600 RPM and 280 pounds per foot of torque at 4,800 RPM. Now, if you were to compare this with some of its competition, like for example the Genesis G70 or the BMW 340 or the Audi S4, those will most likely be a little bit more potent. But the benefit that you have with Lexus is that you have enough power, and you have, of course, the Lexus reliability. Unfortunately, this engine's not going to be around for too long because Lexus is planning to go fully electrified. So we do know that we have a 2025 model year for the IS because they just announced that for the IS 500, for example. And I believe also for the remainder of the IS model lineup, but we don't know how much longer that's going to go on for. Maybe there won't be a 2026 version, or maybe they do a 2026. I can almost guarantee you that 2027 might not be around. So if you want to take advantage of the Lexus reliability, you still want to deal with internal combustion engine, you can't go wrong with this car. Driving the 2024 Lexus IS350 F Sport. So I've been driving it for a few minutes now. First thing that comes to mind is pure comfort. Can't go wrong with Lexus. I mean, that's what they're known for, is their comfort. And despite the fact that this is a sports sedan, the first thing that you feel right away, especially when it comes to the seats, is the comfort level in this. Now, of course, I'm going through some city driving, so I'm not going to be able to push this car too much, but I can tell you that right off the bat, you know, if I even, let's say I put it in normal mode, I'm driving in normal mode right now. As I mentioned before, I've driven the IS300. It did feel underpowered, but if I do push this one a little bit, it does feel already a little bit better than the IS300. Of course, this is a larger engine. In regards to suspension, extremely compliant. I mean, it definitely doesn't feel like I want to say like a sports sedan per se. It's more on the comfort side. If you're going to be using this car as a daily commuter, you definitely can't go wrong with it. It is quiet inside. It's very comfortable. You know, the layout in general is everything is at reach. So even this, for example, now I just put into the brake hold. Very easy to find all the things that you're looking for. The steering feels a little bit numb, you know, compared to other cars that I've driven. Like I said before, this is, yeah, a Lexus, so that's probably gonna be expected. Does it feel different than, let's say, for example, a GSF that I've driven before? Yes, it is softer. Does it feel different than the IS300 that I drove? I mean, it's hard to say because they're both pretty soft. Very comfortable to drive, but I wouldn't say it's very much on the sporty side. In terms of brake feel, very linear. I'm not going to slam on the brakes or anything. I am driving a relatively new car that belongs to one of the viewers, and thank you very much to him. What I do like about the IS in general, and this being the IS350 F Sport, is the fact that you're driving more of an old school car. For those of you that are more car enthusiasts, you're going to get more of an analog feel with this car in general, even when it comes to the functionality of the interior, when it comes to, let's say, the infotainment and even the general HVAC controls and the radio controls, because you do have a lot of physical buttons around the vehicle. There is a bit of body roll, let's just say, more so than, let's say, you know, some of its competitors, but at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to be taking this car or, you know, purchasing this car to be driving on track. You will get your sporty intentions when you need it, but it's not going to be a vehicle that you're going to be able to really drive hard and take to the track, for example. Yeah, I do feel a delay on the upshifts. There's like half a second to a second delay when you're actually pressing on the paddle to upshift. Let's see how it feels on the downshifts. Same thing. You get a bit of an engine note when you're revving a little bit higher on the rev band, but generally speaking, the transmission isn't that great. If you're looking for a really sporty vehicle, you're not going to get it out of this one, especially when it comes to the transmission, because it's not very responsive. So I would say that this is a great commuter car with some sporty intentions and great looks, in my opinion. Aside from that, brakes are good. They feel linear. The engine is is good enough. I wouldn't say it's the most powerful in its class. It's probably towards the lower end compared to some of its competitors. Steering feel is a bit numb. I wouldn't say it's very communicative of what you feel on the road, but it is very comfortable. When it comes to a transmission, it's not the best, but it's good enough. It's very smooth. You don't get any jerkiness out of it, but when it comes to responsiveness and being very quick in terms of the shifts, I wouldn't say it's that great. If you're looking for something that is well laid out, reliable, somewhat sporty, but more on the comfortable side, I'd tell you that to consider the Lexus IS350 F Sport. I personally like it quite a bit. In fact, I'm actually considering an IS500. So if any of you actually do have an IS500 in the Central Florida area that I can test drive, I would definitely appreciate it very much, because I am seriously considering it. And that's how much I love the IS platform in general. I just want something a little bit throatier when it comes to the engine note, and a little bit more power when I'm driving. And I'm looking for the IS500 as a daily. So nevertheless, I personally love this car quite a bit. It's not the sportiest, but it's definitely very comfortable, and it's a great commuter car as well. All right, guys, so I have the owner of this 2024 Lexus IS350 F Sport, Gabe. Thank you very much for allowing me to review your car. I really appreciate it. Wanted to give you the viewers a little bit of an idea of your ownership experience so far with this vehicle. So I'm gonna get you started with some questions. Wanted to ask you right off the bat, what made you choose the 2024 Lexus IS350 F Sport over the other sports sedans in the market?
Absolutely, Rich, and thanks for the opportunity. The thing that made me choose this car is what makes most sense for me. I'm pretty young. I don't need a really fast car. I just go taking it to work for daily driving. So that's the main reason. I wasn't really looking into anything else other than an RCF or another used IS350.
Yeah.
But this car made the most sense to me.
So let me ask you, did you consider any other sedans from other brands as opposed to Lexus, or did you just want to stick with Lexus?
Yes, I just wanted to stick with Lexus, since I used to have an 09 IS250.
Yeah.
That they got totaled, so that was like a year before I bought this car. I really wanted to get back into an IS because I got an SUV, and then it didn't work for me because I wanted a sporty car.
Which makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, one thing that I've noticed about a lot of Lexus owners is the fact that once they go with Lexus, they typically stay within Lexus. There's something about Lexus that really makes the ownership experience very, very pleasant.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now that you have the IS350, you've had it for about how long? 8 months, you said?
8 months now, yes.
So how would you say that the driving experience compares to your expectations? Does it feel as sporty as you anticipated?
It does. Coming from an IS250, this car has a little bit, almost 50% more horsepower.
Yeah.
So as I was expecting, it's a lot quicker.
Anything else in terms of like the handling?
The handling is a little numb.
Okay.
I expected it to be a little more lively.
Yeah.
But it's still good enough for me. I just take it to work and back, and then go a little bit of twisted roads. In the rain a little bit, you can turn the traction control off and slide a little bit.
Well, that's good. So I guess you'd say that it met your expectations.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
I knew what I was getting into. I know it wasn't going to be the sportiest car out there. So
yeah, you didn't have, like, you weren't thinking that you're going to get into like an M3 or something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, makes sense. So far in your 8 months of ownership, what would you say are your favorite features of the F Sport package that you think stand out the most?
Well, the first thing is the looks. This car looks amazing.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, it's one of the best looking sedans in the segment. I like another F Sport feature I like is the wheels.
The wheels are gorgeous. I love that.
Really good looking.
So the overall looks you like about the F Sport package in general. Okay.
Also the seats. Their seats are really comfortable as well, and they hold you in pretty well as well.
Have you had any issues or challenges with the car since you've owned it?
As of right now, I haven't had any issues with the car. that's one of the reasons I got this car, since I know it's been out for a while now. Almost, this generation of the car has been out almost 10 years, I think, at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of its current looks, I think it's been since 2020 or 2021.
2021.
But it's the same chassis at the end of the day.
Same chassis, platform, the interior, it's been out for a while now, so they got it pretty nailed down by now. And actually still looks good at the inside. So they did a really good job 10 years ago.
Yeah. So you haven't had any issues then?
No.
That's good. Well, I mean, it basically does what it's supposed to, which is a Lexus. It's very reliable.
Really reliable.
How would you say the fuel efficiency is on this car in general?
It's relatively bad compared to the more modern powertrains in the competition.
Yeah.
I also have a heavy foot, so I tend to get around 15 miles per gallon on the city.
Yeah, that's pretty low, but that's probably also with the way that you drive.
The way I drive, yes. If I feel more conservative, I can probably get 20 miles per gallon.
Okay, that makes more sense.
In the city, and then on the highway, I get around 27, 28 miles per gallon.
Is there anything that you change or improve in the car, if you could, right now?
If I could, one of the things I would change is the transmission.
Right.
I wish it had more responsive transmission
and quicker shifting, I guess.
Yes, the engine right now for me is plenty of power for daily driving. It's just the transmission is a little bit sluggish.
I don't blame you. I felt the same thing while I was driving it. Yeah.
That's the only thing I think I would change. Maybe on the inside, I would like a place to put my phone.
Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't have a wireless charger either, and so there's really nowhere to put a phone other than the cup holders, and then when you put your phone there, you can't
use the cup holders.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, that's actually pretty informative for those of you that would be considering this car. It's absolutely true. Gabe, thank you very much for for giving us some insight from an ownership perspective. Thank you very much for allowing me to review this car. Guys, if you have any questions, make sure to comment below. But thank you very much once again for your insight on this.
Absolutely.
Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of the 2024 Lexus IS350 F Sport. Gave me a pretty good idea of what this car feels like compared to the IS300, which is the base trim. Big thanks to Gabe for allowing me to review his car. Also for answering some of the questions from an ownership perspective. I hope it gave you guys some insight of what it feels to own this vehicle. And if you guys are ever considering it, now you know a little bit more about the vehicle. Once again, thanks a lot guys for all the views, all the likes. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me a like if this gave you some insight or if it gave you some additional information. And as always guys, stay tuned for more reviews. I'll see you all guys on the next one. Thanks guys, take care, bye-bye.